I was at a presentation in Chicago about 2 years ago, and this very famous researcher from India shocked the audience by saying that a ketogenic style diet, so now we're going into ketogenesis, improves outcome for what he was clinically trial colon and breast cancer by 58% on average. For the oncologist, that was unheard of. We're talking a little bit of a tweak with this chemotherapy or that radiation, and we're talking 3% better improvement outcome, 4%. Those are the numbers that I'm used to hearing. It's just that little bit of single-digit numbers, 58%. And then I thought to myself, but hey, wait a minute. We discovered that back in the 80s already. It was an observational finding, and this guy was going into why it happens, but we've known this since the 80s. And then the moderator of the group, my hero and mentor, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, got up and very dryly said, oh, that is very phenomenal. I'm so interested in the mechanism of how this works. And yes, observational studies in the 80s already proved that. And I could see the guy go, why do we have to repeat history, right? Why do we have to throw away that precious research from, say, the old Soviet Union? Let's use it. And the ketogenic diet, I've seen it go through many different iterations in the past 30 years. But most of it bad, and I've never been really on board. So we designed our own long time ago. It was to reverse heart disease. It was to help the athletes perform better. It was to help with autoimmune disease. We call it Nourish in this group, in this office. And it was designed to get rid of some of the things that I don't like about it. Carb-based foods are ubiquitous. Most of us show signs of metabolic dysfunction. It's hard to escape. Western food is just poisonous. For a few of us, a modest decrease in carbs suffices to prevent overt illness. So just a little tweak and you're there. Most of us have to go further than that. And it requires greater carb restriction, and we're going to go into that. You need to achieve something called keto adaptation. And what is keto adaptation? This is where over a period of time you go into ketogenesis. Now, what are ketones? Ketones is when you start burning your fat and the liver converts it to ketone bodies, it provides optimal fuel to nearly every cell in the body. It's clean fuel. It's like a Tesla running on electricity versus a diesel car that's just spewing out all kinds of smoke. Carbohydrates is dirty fuel. It's not as efficient and is therefore the fuel that fuels most inflammation. If I treat a professional athlete and they're fueling themselves on carbs because they're still buying into that carb loading thing from the 1970s, these are the people that are constantly injuring themselves. They're sore after exercise. They're not recovering quickly, and their body fat is a lot higher than expected, and their muscle mass is a lot less than expected. It does not work. As soon as we throw them into this, you see a dramatic result within weeks. It's not uncommon for me to see a muscle mass increase of 2% in just 2 weeks when we do this. So these ketosis or keto adaptation occurs when you're in the zone continuously and affects cell function, genetic expression in a positive way. I just flew through that, but did you hear genetic expression? Ketone bodies tickles our genes, and anything that's dysfunctional that might be lurking with MS or heart disease, it says, nope, quiet down. Let's not express yourself. Let's make the good things happen instead. Look at your genes as a keyboard. And yes, some of these keys might have the ability to play off-key kind of notes of music. In other words, a false tone. But if you hit just the right keys, you're going to still be able to produce beautiful music. That's what these ketones do. It helps your body ignore all the false keys, the bad keys, so you just play good music, and that's called good genetic expression. Ketogenic diets are distinct from other popular diet approaches. The Ornish diet, that was really big when I first started to practice. And the Ornish diet was, I respect Dr. Dean Ornish. He did a phenomenal job. He had a very rigorous study that showed that you can, with food, reverse heart disease. He was very much criticized with it, but the evidence was incontrovertible. It was very well done. However, it's not a sustainable diet. It's extreme. It was very high in carbs, as you can tell. The proteins are on the bottom here. Standard American diet is not far behind it. The Mediterranean diet is generally accepted as the upper threshold of a lower carb diet. This is a very good maintenance diet once you achieve what you want to achieve. It's very healthy, standard of the world. It's very diverse, lots of colors, lots of fats. And then here comes paleo diet. That's more rich in the proteins, as you can tell. It's kind of a rage right now. It's a grain-free approach that emphasizes a lot of meats, a lot of proteins, and is usually drenched with dairy. A lot of patients in paleo that are doing paleo also do more extreme exercise like CrossFit. And when you walk into the gym, you'll notice that they kind of look puffy, pasty, have a bit of a round gut on them. And they're very fit, and they're doing a lot of good things, but they're not. They look like they're just not getting the nourishment that they should. That's what they look like. And here's your ketogenic diet. The keto adaptation versus metabolic syndrome. Dr. Jeff Olek presented this about a half a year ago. He's considered one of the fathers of how to do keto adaptation the correct way. And you can see dramatic changes in abdominal fat. Triglycerides was reduced amazingly. HDLs went up, that's the good cholesterol. And you can see that your sugar levels improved a lot. Your insulin levels made a phenomenal difference, and insulin is very inflammatory at that battle level. And leptin, the satiety hormone. Some very dramatic changes. And that was after just 3 months. So this was done right next door here in Indiana. It's not that long ago. And we had type 2 diabetics and pre-diabetics. And the average weight here was 257 pounds. We put them on a ketogenic diet. There was an average reduction in hemoglobin A1C. That's the average blood sugar levels of 1.0. So that means a very significant drop in blood sugar levels. 87% eliminated or reduced their insulin levels, 56% average reduction in that hemoglobin A1C, and 75% lost significant weight, 91% compliance rate, and the triglycerides dropped an average of 20%. If I were to include blood pressure in there, almost all of our patients that do the ketogenic program called Nourish over here, their blood pressure usually normalizes within about 6 weeks, as does all of their cholesterol markers, even if they are in obese state yet. So the things that we have used this for, and here's some of the journal articles to back that up, is adult obesity, pediatric obesity, type 2 diabetics, polycystic ovarian syndrome, that's a very difficult one to treat, epilepsy, amazing what you can do with that, Parkinson's, fatty liver, cancers, autism, yes, autism. There's a lot of things that can be done with autism, and this is one of the things that we do with it. Alzheimer's and hypertension and vascular function. We did a seminar on Alzheimer's and how you can actually reverse cognitive decline. There's now a new book out called The End of Alzheimer's. I'm going to highly, highly recommend that book. It's Dr. Berdesian that did that. I've done the protocol, I've done his seminars, so I'm now certified in the Berdesian protocol, and the book talks about how you can reverse Alzheimer's. It's an absolute fascinating book and quite a journey through functional medicine. So here's what I don't like about ketogenic problems. You remember Dr. Atkins? We do, don't we? We're going back a ways. So that program was this is what I didn't like about it. It's just drenched with dairy. Dairy is considered, after age 40, to be the number 2 cause of diabetes. We become sensitized to it. It's difficult for us to fully break it down. It becomes inflammatory. It interferes with the action of insulin. It's also been linked with certain cancers. So being dairy drenched is a problem. Breakfast. So you've got some cottage cheese, some bacon, some pork. There's your Atkins diet. I'm exaggerating just a bit, but not much. And where's the phytonutrients, the preciousness of all the colors that has been given to us out of nature, that just feeds our cells, our genes, and gives you that overall tickling of genetic expression that creates that thriving spirit that is created in us. We need to really be more diverse. So it's lacking the plant phytonutrients, and honestly, it's not sustainable. 1 pound of meat takes about 18 grains, and I don't know how much grass, and hundreds of gallons of water to produce. And if everybody's going to start doing this kind of a ketogenic diet, I'm afraid we're going to run into trouble. It is just not sustainable, and also long-term not sustainable just as a habit, because who wants to be doing that kind of a program long-term? So instead, we've decided to do something very brilliant. And that is, why not design something that's ketogenic, so it gives us the benefits of ketogenesis. It has 3 phases. 1 is strict and puts you in that keto adaptive state. Second one is kind of easing up, and phase 3 kind of bounces you in and out of it. I don't do ketogenesis year round. I don't think we're meant to do that. And that's heresy to some doctors. But I don't want to miss out on some of the things that get harvested in the fall and in the spring and in the summer. So why not get the benefits of ketogenesis and combine that with the fast-mimicking diet? Because all the data that I showed you on fast-mimicking diet was assuming a fairly standard American diet with 5 days of fasting. And look at the incredible results you got with that. Imagine if you combine that with the ketogenic diet. Brilliant, right? So we developed it to complement our Nourish plant to bring back tremendous health benefits. It's specific, nutrient dense, short-term, and we do this for 5 consecutive days for at least 3 months. Okay? So short-term meaning just 5 days. We don't, to do the 21-day fasting kind of programs, you need a full-time clinic where the people just live, and so you can monitor all their aspects of it. And I'm seeing plenty of evidence that in the 5-day fast-mimicking diet, you can get very equal results. That's why we've chosen that one. So what does that look like? Well, we have a guinea pig here.
We do.
Don has put in a tremendous amount of effort developing this, and it was no small job.
It's no small job.
It's a difficult thing to do to achieve a healthy, fast-mimicking diet where we still have to fool the body into thinking it's fasting while fueling the detoxification pathways, while we're still into that keto adaptive state. Listen up, folks. This is how we do it. Well, you got that?
I've got one. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dawn, and I'm one of the health coaches here, and I am super excited about this, what we're going to call our Fast and Nourish program. We'll be launching this in the next couple of weeks. We have a few little bugs to work out with it yet, but I'm excited to be here and share with you my experience with this program and putting it together, because I believe very much in the positive health benefit effects that we will get from that. So as Dr. Boer said, we're going to do this in conjunction with our Nourish food plan, which is that higher fat, moderate protein, low carb way of eating. And then we'll move into these days of fast mimicking, which will be 5 consecutive days a month for a minimum of 3 months. The research is showing that you need to do that for 3 months in a row in order to get that full effect. But I thought I would share here a couple of pictures of some of the foods that I ate as I did the fast mimicking diet that we have developed. And you can see I certainly was not really deprived. A beautiful salad. There's a vegetable soup there. I did all of the food preparation ahead of time, knowing that I probably was going to be hungry during these 5 days. It was all there, ready for me to go. I didn't have to be in the kitchen and be tempted by some other things. You have the... So next, the vegetable soup there in the bowl, and then another sort of Tuscan style soup that I ate. Highly nutrient dense, very detoxifying with some of those foods. So some things to consider if this is something that you embark upon. Need to commit for 3 months. So this isn't just a quick, easy fix. Wouldn't we all like to have that quick, easy fix? But this is something that we're going to commit to for 3 months. I found that as I did it, hydration was significantly important. Helps with some detoxification for me that happened. I started this program immediately after a Christmas vacation. So there definitely was a little detoxification that happened for me, which is why when we embark on this, we're going to help you and walk you through some preparation so that you can be ready for that. Potentially during these 5 days, people may experience some decrease in energy, maybe a little bit of brain fog. I believe if you're well prepared for that, by day 2, that should start to clear. I did experience that on day 3. And again, I think because I had been on Christmas vacation. It is likely during those 5 days that you will experience hunger. I don't know that that's such a bad thing. And you'll see on the next slide when I talk about that, some of the positive effects. I found that being hungry was a positive thing for me. For those of you that are heavy exercisers, during this program, we will discourage any kind of heavy exercise. We will encourage you to be doing that 10-minute walk after a meal for that positive blood sugar effect. The 5-day program is a rigid program. You will be given a certain amount of food to eat, certain recipes to follow. You would be expected to follow those exactly as they're written and stay within those parameters. There would be no substitutions made. I found that it was very helpful to keep busy. I had less time then to think about food, but I also chose to do it at a time when I did have some lower stress. I didn't have a lot of extra outside activities to do, and I found that to be very helpful as we went through that 5 days. There were some challenges with my family. So when I had to prepare food for them, yes, that was hard for me. It did get better. By day 4, I could easily prepare their food and not feel as deprived, so to speak. A funny story, on Saturday, that was my day 5, we were around the table having a very nice family dinner because my son, who's a freshman in college, was heading back, and I was having my lovely bowl of vegetable soup, which was very, very delicious. They were all having something else, and it was a little challenging for me. And I'm got my head down, I'm eating my soup. The kids are asking me all kinds of questions about this experience, why I'm doing it. I was telling them that I would be presenting tonight at seminar, and my son says to me, "You are going to tell them the truth, right?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, you were a little crabby the last few days." And I looked up from my soup looking for some validation from everyone around the table, and they were all nodding their head. So that is a challenge that I will carry forward when I go into February and I do my next 5-day cycle. I'm going to work at being a little less crabby. All right. Overall, it was an extremely positive experience for me. Definitely felt improved digestion. That lean and clean feeling that we all like to have in here, less bloating, less gas. Felt change in my clothing, right? So clearly there was some fat loss going on there. Some mental clarity. So I know I mentioned on the last slide some potential brain fog, and I did experience that the first couple days, but as I got into the 4th day, I felt much more alive in the brain, good thinking, and I feel like that is carrying on now in these next days after that. I also felt a significant sense of empowerment. So when I do health coaching, it's a lot of helping with some of that practical nitty-gritty of how to implement food plans and lifestyle changes. But it's also about working on relationship with food. And I just felt a newfound sense of empowerment in using food and nutrition as medicine. I felt a positive physical energy inside, and at first I thought, ooh, is that just a placebo effect? But I don't think so. Even on the days where I felt a little bit of brain fog and a little bit of dragginess, I felt something happening inside of me, positive change. I could feel it coming about, and that was something I'd not felt before, and it was really exciting to me. With the 5 days of the fast-mimicking diet, it feels doable. it feels sustainable. You kind of go in and you have 2 days and you get the hang of it, and then you've got hump day, and then you've got 2 more days to go, and then it's done, right? So that was a really positive thing for me. It's structured. As I said, it's rigid, right? Here's the food. This is what you're going to eat. You don't have to make any decisions. You just do it. So I found that to be a really positive aspect of it. The foods that we have chosen to put this plan together are very, very easy to prepare. You don't have to have special cooking skills, and I will certainly walk you through how to prepare those foods. I also found it very helpful in that even though it's a structured, rigid plan, I could choose the times of day that I wanted to eat. And I really, as the days went on, was able to develop a rhythm with that and being selective of where I was going to choose to eat the foods. So now talking a little bit about some of that relational aspect of food. Definitely got a much better sense of what it felt like to be hungry and what it felt like to be full. So for those of you who are emotional eaters, overeaters, eat just because it's time to eat just because something looks good, this is a really great experience to go through, and it just really created a really good reset for me in thinking about portion size. It caused me to slow down and appreciate the food that I was eating. I wanted to chew it and savor it because this was all I got to have. And that was just a really good experience as I go forward now in these days after, thinking about what I'm going to eat and how much I'm going to eat. So definitely both the physical and the emotional benefits certainly made this a very positive experience. And I truly believe that coupling this fast mimicking way of eating along with our Nourish food plan is just really going to move people into a state of better health.
Awesome. Very exciting.